We haven't been with the Zoom. With the Zoom, we haven't been as.
Okay, you are live on YouTube and it is 6:31. So Mr. Chair, you may.
Okay, here we go. I want to call to order City Council meeting July 27th, 2020. Please rise for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. As we gather here during these difficult times, allow us to be resourceful and insightful as we approach the challenges that come before us. Thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Thank you to the veterans, police, firefighters, first responders, and men and women in uniform today for the freedom and many liberties we know and cherish. Guide us to act compassionately, remembering foremost the needs of the community whom we serve. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States
of America and to the republic
to
for
the
which it
republic for
stands,
which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you, Ms. Janelle. Thank you, everyone, for coming out on such a hot day. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Keller?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Morales?
Here.
Mr. Wertz?
Here.
Chairman Carey?
Present and all accounted for tonight. Thank you very much. To the council, minutes have been sent out. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, they'll stand approved. Also to council has been distributed a budget report from January 1st through June 30th, 2020. Mayor, would you care to give us an update on that budget report, please?
Sure. So for June 30th of 2020, we're obviously half of the year is completed. That would be 50% of the budget year completed. Our revenues are at 58%. Our expenditures are at 37%. So in both expenditures and revenues, our performance is better than budget. Like I indicated on Thursday, I won't go into as much detail, but with the COVID situation, we're anticipating that the third and fourth quarters, we would be hit harder in those quarters than we have been so far. So we have basically cut everything possible from the budget in a new COVID budget that we put together, basically eliminating all repairs and maintenance except for emergencies, not replacing employees with the exception of the zoning officer, which we need to be able to issue permits, but part-time employees, reduce some hours. So we've done, the bare minimums that we can, and we may have to do more depending on, what happens. So that's where we're at for now.
Okay, thank you for the update, Mayor. Anyone from council, any additions or corrections or questions on the budget report? Okay, hearing none, then they will stand approved as presented. Thank you. Tonight, we have several communications. There's 3 communications from the Pennsylvania Department of the Auditor General transmitting the 2019 Act 205 actual valuation report. And we're going to put these together. One is for the one is for the fireman's pension plan, one is for the police pension plan, and the other one is for the non-uniform pension plan. Mayor, can you please explain to us what all this Act 205 actual valuation report is?
Sure. So Act 205 of 84, the state mandated that every municipality that maintains a pension plan for its employees, file this report every 2 years. It provides a snapshot of how the plan is performing at that particular moment. And the reason why they required this is because the state recognized that there were many pension plans that were underfunded and or distressed. And so in order so that residents and government officials would be accountable, really for transparency purposes and for fiduciary reasons, they required this, like I said, every 2 years. Now, our GASB requirements provide something of a smaller scale. For auditing requirements, they require an actuarial valuation every year that we file with our audit, but this is a more complex, detailed plan that's required every 2 years. So the correspondence before you tonight is basically the report that was prepared by the actuary that gets sent to the State Auditor General's office. And that is then composed into an actuarial valuation, which we will get later.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone on council that has any questions concerning these reports? Okay, hearing none. Is there anyone from the media with any questions concerning these 3 reports?
No.
And thank you. Is there anyone from the public with any questions concerning these 3 reports?
No. Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I make a statement? So I
Yes.
apologize because I did not give my little spiel at the beginning of the meeting. If anyone does have a question, the chair will give you an opportunity prior to a vote on a matter or prior to moving on to the next item. He usually will give an opportunity for any public comment at that time on that particular issue. You just need to raise your hand and then we will recognize you at the appropriate time. Also, at the very end of the meeting, after all of council's business has been conducted, there's an opportunity for public comment. And at that point in time, if anyone does have any information to offer or questions to ask, we will, again, please raise your hand and we will recognize you in the order of when the hand was raised. Thank you, and I apologize for not indicating that earlier.
thank you, Mayor. Okay, our last communication tonight is from Mayor Sherry Capello informing council of the appointment of the Design Review Board in accordance with section 1312.13 of the zoning code. And I also believe there's a letter that that we received to council that goes with this, but is part and parcel of it. Mayor,
Okay. So I'm just going to, once again, like I did on Thursday, I'll try and be brief. So for several years, the city was requested by residents and some members of the art community about a policy regarding murals and public art. So the city, after doing research in other cities like Philadelphia, Lancaster, whatnot, we put together a policy, and then our consultant, when we were putting together our zoning ordinance, indicated that that was something that we could incorporate into the zoning ordinance. So it's basically for murals and street art or public art. And the purpose was to value that public art has to citizens and to the public in general, to visitors, and that it represents a building block for engaging imaginative spaces, you know, to enliven our public realm and to share community interactions, celebrate our unique stories, our collective history, and inspire us to experience the world with fresh perspectives. And it's really to promote all types of public art in civic spaces, and again, create a unique identity for the city as a destination. And it goes on with other purposes, which you can read in the zoning ordinance, but that was really, it's also to consider economic development and tourism when advocating for public art. So it addresses all of things, but it's mainly for murals and or public art, street art. It's not the forming of a commission that was brought up on Thursday night. It is just to, again, in the public arena. And one of the criteria in this policy is to create a design review board, which this design review board looks at these images that will be visible from the public street, and they are to be reviewed in order to determine if they meet certain criteria, which are not real detailed. It's just to make sure that it's in good taste, that there's nothing that's sexually explicit or obscene or pornographic. It's and not political. It's to really look at our rich history and our architectural features, and to try and incorporate all of those things in addition to community messages or issues, or to recognize achievements of individuals or similar items. So that was the main intent of it. And the mayor appoints, it's 7 people to the board, and they are to represent different areas of our community. Like someone from either Lebanon Valley Conservancy or the Historical Society, which we picked Richard Wertz because he's kind of a jack of all trades. He's not only representing the Historical Society, but he also is a downtown business owner, a downtown property owner. So that's why I chose him. Another member is supposed to be either the Main Street manager or a member of the Lebanon Foundation because of their investment in the downtown. A staff person from Community and Economic Development, a downtown property and our business owner, and we picked Guadalupe Barbara because she represents a downtown business and she's also Hispanic, and we wanted to make sure that we got at least several people on the design review board that were Hispanic. An artist, and we picked Mrs. Dorothy Perez because, like I indicated on Thursday, Dorothy Perez has been a part of the art community in Lebanon for a very long time. She used to be a member of the Arts Council, and she won the contest for designing what works would be on our 2 bridges that cross over the Norfolk Southern Railroad. So I thought, you know, who better to ask than someone who represents the Hispanic community as well, and was, you know, our winner of that contest, and a very good artist. A member of City Council, and again, Mr. Morales had asked to sit on this once it was formed, and also he also represents the Hispanic community. And then a representative from the Lebanon Valley Council of Arts. So we chose the president of that organization. So it was pretty simple. Those are the reasons why I picked who I did. Everyone was very appreciative and honored to serve. And as you can tell from the appointment letter, everyone's in their positions now. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Mayor, was there a letter that we were going to read at this time?
Yes, so we did receive a last minute email from a resident, and we asked the city clerk if she would read that letter.
And before Ms. Cheryl does, and maybe Ms. Cheryl can, I really apologize that I cannot pronounce her name very well. Maybe Ms. Cheryl can better, but is it Majaya Mietten? And her address is 117 South 11th Street. And we appreciate her concern, and we'd like to share a letter. It is a little lengthy, and I really thank Ms. Cheryl for being able to read it for us. Thank you.
Ready? Dear Mayor Capello and the members of Lebanon City Council, I'd first like to introduce myself. My name is Mahia Mietten, and I live at 117 South 11th Street, Lebanon. I first met Mayor Capello about 10 years ago during a meeting with Daniel Buffenmeyer and myself concerning the arts in the city of Lebanon. After our meeting, Daniel, myself, and a couple of other artist professionals formed an artist collective, Art Space 629, which functioned as a shared artist-ran space on top of the William Penn on Cumberland Street for about 2 years. We held numerous exhibitions in Willow Street Suites and also brought artists from New Jersey and New York City. I tried to become involved with the Lebanon Valley Arts Council already in 2008, but unfortunately, and without any disrespect for the work they do, I didn't feel very welcomed. The overall consensus among the artists of Art Space 621 was similar in relation to the Arts Council of being quite inaccessible to most artists, especially if the artist's work didn't fit into their idea of good art. In 2012, I moved to Ohio to pursue my graduate degree in fine arts and PhD level comparative cultural studies at The Ohio State University. After successful completion of my studies, I moved back to Lebanon in 2016. During these last 10 years, in addition to my master's degree in fine arts, I have taught art at The Ohio State University, Dickinson College, and at Tyler School of Art, Temple University. I have also exhibited my work all over the country. Most recently, I had an exhibition at the Susquehanna Art Museum in Harrisburg, and I have participated in and arranged numerous other art and culture related events. I have also published cultural studies papers in different publications, and therefore I am a professional artist. It has come to my attention that recently the city government decided to form some kind of arts commission to support the creation of murals in the city of Lebanon, which include funding as well. I think this is a positive development because I believe in the transformative power of the arts in the community. At the same time, as a professional artist and tax-paying member of this community, I have some questions. While murals are great and can beautify and elevate a city, community, or a neighborhood, I'd like to understand why only murals. From the standpoint of a professional artist, to truly have arts to have an impact in the community, so much more is needed than painted walls. My suggestion is why not form a Lebanon Arts Commission that supports arts across the board, including visual arts, music, dance, theater, 3D arts, urban art, and design, etc. There are so many examples across this nation and the world where artists, when supported, have transformed and continue to transform cities, towns, and communities. It can be anything from community gardens, neighborhood meeting places, commissioned public art pieces, children's theater groups, concert series to murals, turning empty lots to art installations for the community to enjoy. I think all this could happen in Lebanon as well and transform the city for the better. There are also numerous studies that show how the community-funded arts can provide a significant economic boost. While there are people in this town with great creative potential, unfortunately, very often it seems that the same few people are given an opportunity to exhibit their talents here. That leads me to my next questions. Who's going to be in charge of this commission? Who will choose the people to be in this commission? And what are the professional requirements for the people who are going to serve on this board? What is the criteria which art, mural, projects are going to be funded? As a professional artist, I am also greatly concerned with the quality of the work potentially being funded and created. Who is going to oversee that the taxpayers' money will go to funding pieces that actually are beyond the scope of someone's personal taste of what they like or don't like? Unfortunately, very often the people who are not art professionals base their judgment of what is good art and what is not based on their very subjective opinion of what they personally like or think is a good piece of art. Again, as a professional in this field, I believe this approach would not serve the Lebanon city as a whole to represent the many voices of this town. As far as I understand, the commission that is being formed right now, only 1 out of its 7 members is an artist. That is a great concern to me when the people who will be in place to make decisions concerning something potentially very impactful for this community as a whole have very little, if at all, knowledge of the arts in general, as well as its history and, most importantly, the current trends. My concern that if not done right, this positive attempt to formulate something new to this city will only turn sour when the same people with same points of view on the arts will get to choose what will be presented and represented. Then it will be more of the same, and frankly, the taxpayers' money will be wasted. I'd also like to understand the reasoning why the commission will be appointed for 5 years. It seems like a very long time. First, it is a long time for an individual to make a commitment, but more than anything, it seems like a long time considering the rapidly changing cultural climate. It leaves me to wonder how effectively will this commission, with the same people serving for 5 years, be able to respond to the increasing need for the diversity and inclusion. The power of art lies in its ability to bring people together and give them a sense of meaning and empowerment. I'd like to know exactly how will this commission represent the minority voices and make sure they will be represented and presented if only one of the 7 Hispanic community and one represents the artists who across the board seek to give voice to the people without voice or human experiences that are hard to express. Is this important in this city? Is diversity and inclusion values this community as a whole wants to promote through the arts while improving the quality of life for all its residents? Thank you for what is hopefully your consideration in this matter.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, you had asked if I could respond to a couple of the questions.
Thank you,
So-
Mayor.
So clearly there's some confusion out there, which is one of my concerns, because I'm not sure she understands that the appointments that were just made is to a design review board. It's not an arts commission. And I think some people may be confused with that. And, you know, an arts commission is not something that the city proposed. It's something that was brought to us. When she asked why it's only murals, this is something that's in the zoning ordinance. It's a part of the zoning ordinance, and it's for murals and public art. Prior to the policy that was in place, that was put into place shortly before the ordinance, there was no criteria for murals or public art. And so anyone could have almost gone around putting up any type of, you know, even offensive type material. And we just basically wanted to make sure that properties could coexist in harmony with each other and there not be anything offensive. And that we, again, with murals and public art, try and take our rich history and issues that are going on in our town into consideration for this type of art. It is only to deal with that, not other things, which there's a lot of comments and feelings about an art commission and it encompassing a lot of things. But again, this is just a very narrow thing in the zoning ordinance and is only dealing with that. When she asked who's going to be in charge of the commission, you know, Amari had indicated that he submitted a proposal to city council in reviewing it. It's not really a proposal, it's a report. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of questions out there, and I think that came out on Thursday. You know, it's important that anything that may come out of this, that it represents, you know, what the city residents want and what the taxpayers want. Why, you know, would someone, and again, the appointments were for the design review board and not a commission. So she talks about an appointment on the commission for 5 years. We don't have a proposal about term lengths or how many people or who appoints them. Again, with all boards and commissions here in the city of Lebanon, and this is quite standard throughout, you know, local government, boards, you know, terms tend to be 3, 4, 5 years. That's kind of a standard thing. And again, she's talking about the Hispanic community and that it's her understanding only one person. And I kind of went over that when I was talking about why the people were appointed for what type of, what part of the segment. So I think that Councilman Morales has done some research on the information that was presented to us. So, Mr. Chair, I don't know if you'd like to recognize your vice chair at this time.
Okay. Mr. Morales?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. Just a few things. Sequoia, Washington has an annual budget of $37.9 million and a population of 7,481 compared to Lebanon, where we have a $14 million budget and 25,000 residents. Sequoia, Washington's Arts Council has one part-time employee. As for the other document provided, the February 2015 City of Sequoia Planning Strategy Report, it's just that, it's a report. This came about after 2 surveys were completed by the citizens of Sequoia in 2011. The other survey that was taken was was a Parks and Recreation Needs Assessment. In 2014, a public arts policy was created, which, as the mayor just talked about, Lebanon just completed its new zoning ordinance, and that's a part of it. After the ordinance in Sequoia was enacted, the city then met with stakeholders in the community for their input on developing an arts council. It was a very methodical process that they used just to get to that point. One of the first things Sequoia did was build a civic center. I'm not saying that anyone has asked to build a civic center. I just state that they had a very good budget. And as the mayor mentioned on Thursday night, Lebanon, we're dealing with an ongoing monetary with the effects of COVID-19. And again, as the mayor mentioned, we're hoping not to lay off any city employees. And I really think that would be a priority right now. Just getting through COVID, I believe, is a priority for us. I would like to see a more detailed plan for how the city of Lebanon, with input from its citizens and how they feel about an arts council. I've personally spoken to a number of city residents in the limited time that I've had on their interest, and the results were mixed. But many of them, they thought it was something the city just doesn't need right now at this time. I believe the key to Lebanon City and County arts, and the two are interdependent, I believe, that lies in the current architecture of the Lebanon Valley Council of the Arts. Increasing their membership and participation will lead to increased arts activity. And I'm hoping to diversity as well. And I'm sure we could make that happen, getting together with the Arts Council President Sharon Zook and their board. I think Sharon alluded to that fact, some of the things they need to progress on when she spoke on Thursday. I can't speak for her, but I would like to try and make that happen. So at this time, I believe we need more input from the citizens to move forward on this subject. Thank you for letting me take it.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. I appreciate that. Since we're kind of gotten down this road here, I did have something that I wanted to kind of throw out to council. First of all, I wanted to thank Amari and for his report on Thursday. And I wanted to thank him for his passion and the passion of the other artists who have come forward, expressing such, a real love and appreciation for the arts. And, I think maybe just like Mr. Morales is saying, council should maybe take the next 3 months, research and learn and find out what the best options are for the arts in the city. And then come back and review this, review where we're at and what we've learned and what we've also gleaned from from not just the arts community, but also from the Lebanon community at large too. And we can come back and review our options and share with each other what we've learned in a maybe a 3-month period or so, and move on from there. Just like you had said, Mr. Morales, out there in the one city in Washington State that they were using an example. It was a long-going process to put everything together. So that would be my suggestion. I don't know, how does everyone feel about that as a starting point?
I think it's wise. I mean, the discernment that all of us have to take under guidance, talking with other constituents. I know I had a conversation with Sharon. There are a lot of open-ended questions that I think the next few months should be taken to really research. So we can actually put together a proposal instead of just a case study, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Abreu actually had emailed me and asked if we would consider it over the next 3 months. So that was a great idea. Joe, thank you for doing the research and the comparatives to compare like the size of the cities, the comparison of the budgets. I was not aware of that. All I did was read that article. So you went above and did that research, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
The items that was from what Amari had sent to me. So Amari and I had emailed back and forth. So we've been having some conversation on this as well.
Good. Thank you for discussing it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
And Mr. Chairman, I'm also in agreement with this 3-month
I think, can I
situation.
just mention one thing? Was it is her name Maja? The letter that you had got. So it did seem to me, Mayor, I think you were right on that maybe she was confusing what the Arts Design Board is and what the commission that he was proposing would be. So I'll try to follow up with her and clarify. She had emailed me personally as well. So I think they're on vacation, but I'll follow up. But
Amy,
thank you for clearing that up, because I think that's what it was.
Amy, maybe you can send her a copy of that from the ordinance.
Say it again.
Send her the ordinance from that section. Maybe send her a copy of that. That might help her.
I think maybe that was the confusion, because when it was first brought up, that like part A that lists all of the, what does it say? Like recognize, the purpose of this section is to recognize the value of public art. And then it went through all of the things that I think like Amari was thinking a commission would do. And then I think maybe her hearing that combined with the fact that we're appointing a design board maybe made people think, and she maybe not the only one, that maybe that was a function of the design board, but it doesn't sound like that's what it is.
And we have no budget for that, correct?
Right, right.
There's no
There,
budget.
yes, thank you. That was the other note that I wrote down. It said it includes funding, and there is no funding. Right, so that needs to be made clear as well.
Okay, well, yes, Mayor.
Mr. Chair, Cornell Wilson has his hand raised. Do you want to recognize him at this point?
Well, tell you what, before I do Cornell, if he'd be just patient, kind enough, let's do media first, and we'll go in order like we do. Is there any questions from media?
No.
Okay, fine. Then we'd like to recognize Mr. Cornell Wilson, please. And if he can state his name and address, I'm sorry, for the record.
Am I muted or unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Okay, Cornell Wilson, 1020 Chestnut Street, 2nd floor, Lebanon. I want to go back.
Hi, Cornell. Thank you for coming.
I want to go back to the original topic is what I had questions on, the arts board. When is this in effect, and are they ready to take an application or forms yet? Or that can be done still through you until they're ready?
No, it went into effect last month at the council meeting when the zoning ordinance was adopted on final. It's just that the members just got appointed prior to this council meeting.
So is there some type of application and form that gets to be filled out that's on your website now?
Not on the website yet, but it will be.
When will that be? Because some of us already have murals in the works, so we need to, I guess, apply.
So are you saying you need a form? Because we'll
Yeah.
send. Okay.
Couple other questions. if somebody's on the board as part of an organization that's doing a mural, are they going to recuse themselves from making decisions since they're actually sit on that board?
Yes, those are things that the design review board should probably decide.
Well, I think they should. I mean, how can they be on a board and then decide they
Right.
get approval or not? And is in your definition of political, besides Republican, Democrat, obviously, is there a definition or details in that ordinance what political could be? Because there's a lot of things that could fall under political.
So if it's not defined, then we use the dictionary. That's what you do in the zoning ordinance. When it's not defined, you go to the dictionary.
Okay, and
That's
does it,
standard.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does this also include private properties if they wanted to do something on their fence or on their side of their house that's on private land? Does that include them? Everybody in Lebanon City then? Or just
So-
public?
The way it's defined is, let me get to it.
And while you're looking, I just want to say I'm glad you finally have an ordinance for it and a thing, because I'm one of the people that probably asked, like, what are the guidelines or stipulations? So thank you for that.
So in order for an image visible from a public street to be approved as an allowed mural or street art, as opposed to being regulated as a sign under the zoning ordinance, the image shall need review by the design review board. And then it goes on. So it's an image visible from a public street, a mural or public art that's visible from the public street.
And if I'm just hypothetically, you propose a mural and you apply and you fit all the ordinances, but they just don't think it's appealing because some of them are not artists, maybe only one, is that still gets approved, or can you appeal if they would say no?
Well, it goes to the mayor,
Okay,
and the standards is that it can't include anything sexually explicit, obscene, or pornographic messages or images. And it can't promote a particular current political candidate or political party. It cannot obscure or require the removal of an original historic architectural feature of a building that was built before 1940. And the primary purpose shall be to, in addition to the purposes that were stated in the ordinance, which there were 10 purposes, and I only read a couple of them, but it's to make an artistic impression, to recognize a historic, architectural, ethnic, social, charitable, or similar feature of the community, or to provide a message regarding a community issue, or to recognize achievements of individuals, or to serve similar purposes. And that is why there was a wide range on the design review board, because it was to represent history, what's going on in the downtown. So, and also because it can possibly devalue properties or increase the value of properties, we wanted to have a downtown business owner or a downtown property owner. So there were, and this is very similar to other design review boards. We didn't just pull things out of the air. We looked at other policies.
okay, two other quick questions. We did talk to you about a mural, but we will go through the process of this appeal board, mural board now that it exists. But the panels we're doing for 9th and Mifflin doesn't have to go through that, right? Or do they have to now too? Because we already started.
We never, a design was never approved.
Okay. It was ready to come to you soon, but that's fine. So
Well,
do I,
the policy's been in effect for a while. It's just now in the zoning ordinance.
okay.
It's the same policy that was in effect for, I'm not even sure when we put it into effect, maybe a little over a year ago.
Okay, and then the only last thing, because I don't have the policy, does it say what happens if you didn't get approval? Is there consequences to a person who's doing murals or artwork that didn't get approval on you?
Since this was since the policy was in effect, or this ordinance, since this ordinance was in effect, it would be a violation of the zoning ordinance and would be handled, through the enforcement notice process.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions on
Can I
this?
just make a general request? Someone's phone is blowing up. If you're not talking, could you mute yourself? It's very cute, Bill, but thank you.
Okay, I think this is the zoning thing too. Is I guess I can't paint Chew Mel Patch tobacco on the side of my house. They can go down Cumberland Street. So it's a good program. It'll work out. It'll work out fine. Okay. We've got everybody covered. We're moving on to resolutions. And the first resolution is resolution number 12. And it's the approval of a transfer of a liquor license to 640 Lebanon Food Corp., which purchased an PLCB liquor license auction for use at the premises at 640 North 7th Street. Now, before we introduce this resolution, I wanted to take a moment and ask council that I would be willing to make a motion to extend a request to extend no, wait, let me start over again. I would be willing to make a motion to extend the transfer of this liquor license to the end of October, dated based on an excellent report from Glenn Yanos, our chief code inspector, on areas of food safety, property maintenance, and building codes. And we can go two directions on this, but I was throwing this out to see where other council, other council would have any comments on this.
Is his lawyer here still again?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see.
Mr. Berger is.
Mr. Berger.
Berger's.
Hi, this is Amy Keller. Could you clarify for me if this were granted, if they were to get their liquor license?
Yes.
And how often are inspections done to make sure that they are up to code and doing what they need to do as far as the liquor license?
So liquor control enforcement goes out fairly often depending. So the way liquor control enforcement works is that if a complaint is made to liquor control enforcement, they have to act upon that complaint. We have clients who have to deal with this all the time. So somebody can call in, make an anonymous complaint. Then liquor control enforcement will go in, sometimes undercover, sometimes in uniforms, go in and inspect to see if there are any violations occurring on the licensed premises, whether that's having a valid health license, whether that's selling to people under 21 years old, all of those types of things. So I have clients who don't really receive complaints and they don't really get investigated. I have clients who the LCE is in their premises once a month. It all depends.
Outside of a complaint, they may never be evaluated?
Well, outside of a complaint, they will be evaluated. They do spot compliance checks, meaning for underage, they do spot compliance checks at least on a yearly, if not multiple times throughout the course of the year. I can't tell you how many times they do it because they don't want to announce how often they're doing compliance checks. So I couldn't particularly tell you like they guaranteed go out 10 times a year.
Okay, so say that they just happen to go out and it's 3 months in and there's a violation.
Yes.
And it's the first time they visited and it's the first violation. Do they lose their license?
Depending on the severity of the license, no. One citation under case law, one citation is enough to have the PLCB non-renewal license. But in practice, if it's one underage, let's say they serve somebody underage within 3 months, that it could be grounds to revoke a license. But I can't guarantee that based on that one violation at non-renewal time.
Are
They
you
will
the
have
same
their license
person? Were you here on Thursday with us, or was that another person?
That was Matthew Anderson, a colleague of mine, but I had also watched.
Okay, that wasn't I'm not sure, counsel, is that what you heard? That's not what I heard on Thursday. I heard on Thursday that if there was one violation, that their license would be revoked and that they would lose any of the money that they incurred in obtaining the license.
No, I mean, certainly violations on the license could lead to a non-renewal and a revocation of the license. And when I cited the statute is one citation is in fact enough to non-renew their license. So my colleague was correct, because if they get one citation, it very could lead to a non-renewal of the license. So there's a difference between what the law says and how it particularly occurs in practice. I can't sit here and tell you they get one violation, their license is going to be revoked. I also can't sit here and tell you if that they need to get two violations. I just know the case law says that if they have one violation, their license could be revoked.
So if I may clarify that, Councilwoman, so we were talking about food safety violations.
Right,
not
I know,
liquor
I know.
code violations.
I know. To me, the food safety is a separate issue, while very compelling, believe me, while very compelling. And I know that the case was being made that if you're not following the rules for the food safety, there's probably a guarantee that they're not going to be following the rules for the liquor license. I get that.
If they don't have a health license, I apologize for interrupting. If they don't have a health license, they can't operate. A health license is an absolute requirement to transfer the license into the property, and it is an absolute requirement to continue selling alcohol. If they don't have a health license, they can't sell alcohol.
And how do they lose the health license?
That would be up to the municipality that handles the health license.
And okay. And is there a limit on how many violations they can have until they lose that license? Weren't there 15?
Glenn, do you want to step in?
Mr. Llanos, can you hear me? I thought I heard something, but no. All right, it's fine. I think that I'm just trying to determine that to me, the food should be separate from the liquor, if we're being fair. And I understand the case that was being made. I'm trying to determine that if they mess up with the liquor, is it going to be gone? So I'm for extending it, Mr. Chair, like you had suggested, if I can't get clarification on that.
Okay. Where's everybody else coming out? We can either go
I'm in
to a
agreement.
vote. Which way, Richard?
I recommend extending the deadline to October.
Okay,
I would agree as well.
Joe, Chris?
I'm
Mr.
okay with that. I just need to express the severity of the food violations. Like I understand that they are a separate issue, but if Mr. Llanos cannot come to us in October and say these guys are perfect, I mean, I understand.
I know.
Sorry, I just need to jump in here. I can't sit here and tell you that should you pass an extension into October, that first, I can agree to such an extension, or two, that failure to act is not going to allow us to turn around and file a transfer application, because the issue becomes is that filing any application is statutorily required by the LCB. And I don't believe that an extension into October is within that time frame.
We were told December on Thursday.
We have December 31st to file the transfer application for the purposes of the auction, but I'm not 100% sure that because I believe you can get another 60-day extension, I want to say, for council taking action, because there's first an initial 45 days with then a permitted extension, somewhat, I believe, 60.
Mr. Chair, so you
Yes.
would have to request that extension of the applicant and they would have to grant it, or otherwise you would have to vote to approve or disapprove, because if you don't vote to approve or disapprove, it gets approved. So
Right.
you either have to vote tonight or they grant you an extension to whatever is allowed by law, which if he's saying it's 45 days and 60, we better be sure. And we better make sure that he agrees to that extension, whatever the law would require. But before you vote, I would really like for Glenn to talk. So Glenn, are you calling in on a separate line? Is 516-965-1115 or 717-708-8271 you? Are
There's-
one of those?
There's a square that says G Janos, like he's on a computer.
I know, but sometimes you
It's
have
a
to call
phone.
in on a phone line like you did when you were on vacation.
Yeah, gotcha.
The 708 number is his.
Yes.
708?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Glenn, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me? Mine says mute.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, could you answer council's question?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there's an echo.
45 days from and what's 60 days from?
Two devices. You might need a mute one.
So we close them down if there is an imminent health hazard, something that they cannot correct immediately. Like when there's a temperature violation, they can discard the bad stuff or reheat something, depending how long it's been out of the right temperature range. But we wouldn't really revoke their license unless they continually had the imminent health hazards and didn't do anything to fix them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 60 days takes us till September 25th.
I'm sorry, 60 days takes us to when?
September 25th.
So I think we need to ask Glenn how he feels about 60 days.
I think they have the potential to do it if they get busy going with getting their house in order.
When's city council meeting in September? Ms. Cheryl, do you know when city council meeting is in September?
The 28th.
The 28th.
Mm-hmm.
And 60 days would take us to the 25th. And it would have to be acted on by no later than the 25th. Is that correct?
Well, I think we need to get a legal opinion here because I think it's 45 days, but Attorney Berger said that you can get an additional 60 days. So this is 60 days from the 45 days.
Oh, from the 45 days.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, Attorney Berger, can you answer that question?
I believe it's from the 45 days.
What's 60 from September 10th? November 9th. Okay. Okay, 45 days from today is September 10th. Another 60 would
No.
take us to
No, it's 45 days from when it was received.
when it was
And I'm pretty
received.
sure the letter was dated first.
That's correct.
Okay. August 15th.
And that's not also to say too, because I didn't take the calculation into effect, if this affects the act that was passed by the state with regards to the COVID extensions.
Okay, so obviously there's a lot of questions regarding this dating. Can we vote to extend to next month and then make a decision based on legal opinion from there? Is that something that's possible, or this is a this is a
The-
one-shot deal?
Well, I don't know, back to the mayor or the attorney, if it was filed July 1st, 45 days is August 15th. That would be before our next council meeting, if that's all we get.
I mean, at the very least, you can request an extension past the 45 days. So you'll get past the 45 days to your next date. And then if you want to, and we want to work out an agreement on an extension, if you're willing to work with my client, we can try to resolve the remaining issues that way.
Well,
Because one, this also gives you the opportunity where my client can turn around and start resolving some of these concerns. And then you can see even within that period of time that my client's willing to work with these concerns.
Our September council meeting is the 28th of September. Are we legally allowed to extend that, extend that transfer and vote on it on the 28th of September?
I'm not sure if Donna is looking the law up, or I'm looking at, okay. A decision by the city to deny a request may be appealed to the Court of Common Pleas in the county in which the city is located. The failure to render a decision by the governing body within the 45-day required time period shall be deemed approval of the permit. I'm trying to see where it says about the 60 days. The governing body shall, within 45 days of a request for approval, render a decision by ordinance or resolution to approve or disapprove.
Mr. Chairman,
A decision.
would we be able to have a special meeting for this in August?
Okay, I found it. Failure by the governing body of the municipality to render a decision within 45 days of the applicant's request for approval shall be deemed an approval of the application in terms as presented unless the governing body has notified the applicant in writing of their election for an extension of time not to exceed 60 days. Failure by the governing body of the municipality to render a decision within the extended time period shall be deemed an approval of the application in terms as presented. So basically, it says we have to request in writing of your election for an extension of time not to exceed 60 days.
And the way I read that, that's 60 days from the 45, the end of the 45.
Right. So from July 1, you have 45 days and 60 days. So if it's August 15th,
Okay, 60 days from August 15th is October 14th.
So we're still in September.
So we'd have to deal with it at the end of September.
yep.
Mr. Berger, how does that sound to you?
That would be fine with me, provided all we would need to know is what exactly would be expected of my client to show good faith.
Right, are we looking for perfection or significant improvement? And like, I guess that would be up to Glenn to decide.
Because I mean, you have to, part of this is, well, I mean, certainly the health and everything has to do with the health, safety, and morals of the community. And a lot of these things that we have looked into, you look into ample parking if alcohol sales are permitted in that area. And we're certainly willing to do what we can with regards to health inspections. But certainly, I mean, we can't, it's not, I can't guarantee that everything's going to be perfect and spotless by this time, but we're trying to show an ability to work with you in hopes of getting this approved.
Well, I think the concern, Mr. Berger, is, I mean, while we'd all, I think I can speak for all of us, we'd love to see perfection. I think the big issue is the items that continue to be discussed time and time again without correction, and the fact that we find violations 24 hours after things have been discussed with your client is a little troubling about their commitment to protocols and procedures. So, I mean, that's my issue right there. I mean, I understand that violations happen all the time in the food industry, and no one is perfect. But when we look at some of these violations and the frequency of individual violations, that's where my concern is. You stack the milk wrong once, I don't really give a crap. I mean, but you do it twice in 2 days after you've been told one day before, like, come on. So, I mean, that I think it's the repetition, and obviously we're going to look for a report from Mr. Llanos on that, but we need a commitment to ongoing collaboration with the city to actually make this. I mean, this stuff just can't happen. I mean, that's it.
Okay.
And Attorney Berger, you weren't here for Thursday's hearing, but if your partner or co-counsel would share with you, what was indicated or what was stated at that hearing, or you could watch it on our YouTube where we have it posted. I mean, they were pretty serious health, safety, life safety items with the danger zone storage of food, and milk's not stored at the correct temperature. And it's the lack of consistency. It's not like this is the first time and we're informing you of it. It's the repeated, we keep going back, and the deliberate action of taking like the Hillshire sausage and the expiration date, putting a new label over it with a new expiration date. I mean, those are deliberate actions. So it's pretty serious stuff. We're not just talking about, okay, not having the proper label or something like that. It's serious life safety items, dangerous items. And in addition, not just food safety, but property maintenance and building code and zoning issues as well. So I think that's why City Council is very concerned, and it would have to be improvements in all of those areas, I would think.
I was right. Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. I was looking at this as a very black and white, and these are two separate things. And I was basing that on what the lawyer had said on Thursday, that if they violate any of the alcohol license terms, they lose their license. So in good faith, and we are Lebanon, the place to grow, I was going to act in favor of growth, knowing that there was that safeguard in place that if they don't follow the rules for their license, they're going to lose their license. But what I'm hearing this evening is that they can continue to do the same thing with their liquor license and maybe not lose it. So they might come in and have an underage sale and still be able to keep that license. So that makes me see this as less of a black and white issue now. Do you see what I'm saying?
I mean, I understand.
No, I need to know if I'm going to be in favor of this at all, if there are going to be safeguards in place, or if they're not following rules, it's going to be shut down. It's going to be done.
Well,
I'm willing to give the opportunity and to give the chance, but not if there's not a safeguard there.
And the safeguards still exist, whether or not it's one citation, it's two citations, it's three citations. If they get a number, if they get any citations.
You told me that they could be evaluated once a year. So one citation, two citation, three citation is in 3 years, they could lose their liquor license if they're only going in once a year.
Well,
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but so the way non-renewals work in Pennsylvania is that you don't automatically lose your license upon receiving a citation. if the license gets non-renewed, every 2 years you have to renew a license. Every year you have to validate. So the LCB determines every year when you pay those fees whether or not they're going to approve or deny those renewals or validations. So you get reviewed once a year, the privilege to have a license. What affects those is the issuance of a citation. One citation is enough to lose your license, so no one particularly wants to take the chance of even receiving one citation, so they will continue what they need to do to not lose that license because it is an expensive asset. So yes, one citation could lead to you losing a license. So my colleague was right on that. And it's still the reason why you don't want to turn around and get non-renewed and you want to keep being upstanding, because what happens with the LCB is when they want to non-renew you, they'll non-renew you and you're not going to be able to keep your license because one citation is enough to non-renew your license. So that is why it's imperative with them to follow all the rules that they need to follow.
I guess my question, it just seems like there are so many second chances, like even with the health code stuff. I just don't understand how this can just drag on and on and on. I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
We've got Mayor.
If council, prior to voting, can you please get Attorney Berger and his clients to agree to the 60-day extension? If that's the way it's going, I think
I
that's
believe he
important.
did verbally.
If that's the request that's going to be made from council, we will agree to the 60-day extension, yes.
I would like a 60-day extension.
Okay, and Mr. Berger, you're saying you're agreeable to that?
Yes, I would be agreeable with that.
Okay. How's everyone else on council feel the same way?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're going to end up reviewing this then, it looks like at the September 28th council meeting.
So I think you need to vote to do this, but prior to voting, Cornell Wilson has his hand raised. So would you like to recognize him at this time?
Cornell?
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say I applaud council for even giving the extension. You're giving him a chance to improve his behaviors at his store before you just say no on the license. So I applaud you in that. Hopefully he gets his act together. It should be significant improvement because nobody, even the best restaurants here in Lebanon, are perfect, and there could be minor things that the day the inspector walks in that happens. But if he makes them significant improvements, you got to take that in consideration. But thank you for the extension for that. But also just want to say to Mrs. Keller, nobody has a total safeguard. If that was the case, almost every bar in Lebanon would probably be closed down by now because a lot of them have had violations. So sometimes they do get a second chance or it wasn't significant enough. But then we also seen some people lost their license in Lebanon too. So you just never know, and you never know the severity. So you can't really base it because some do minor things and some do major. We know which bars closed down because they couldn't get their license renewed from, and we know some who are still active who probably have been violated more than once or cited more than once. So if he doesn't get his act together, then you can't support him. If he gets his act together, I guess you will. Thank you for being fair.
Mayor?
Mr. Chair, before, again, you take the vote or make the motion to take the vote, Mr. Llanos, do you have anything that you would like for council to hear before they would take a vote?
No, I would just, one thing I would say is that what we don't want to close businesses down. We want to improve them and have them get their act together and make things right. That's our goal, not to close businesses down.
Okay, well said.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Llanos. Before we go to this a vote here, is there any questions from the media?
Laura has a question.
Miss Laura?
Yes, hi, thank you. My question is if, and perhaps Attorney Berger could respond to this, if City Council denied the request tonight outright, does that mean that the owners of the grocery store lose the license, or do they still possess the license for a period of time? I'm wondering if it can be voted down tonight and then they can represent at a later date, maybe even beyond the September 28th meeting.
By the application, my client has the right to file an appeal in common pleas court, appealing the determination. I believe they would then have no choice, if denied, to return the license back to the PLCB to once again go back to auction, to be auctioned off. The other option my client would then have is to find a license within inside the city limits and transfer the license person to person, which would avoid an intermunicipal transfer altogether.
Okay, thank you. I just wondered if there was a way to sort of stop the clock for a period of time, but they wouldn't lose possession of that license. But I think you've answered that. Thank you.
Okay. Let me see if I can do this correctly. Please help me if I need to make an adjustment here. I would like to make a motion to extend a liquor license transfer request for an additional 60 days after the initial 45-day period. This is based on the agreement from Attorney Berger and Ideal Food Basket. And we are basing this extension to receive a superior report from our health inspectors on areas of food safety, property maintenance, and building code. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved in second.
Can I clarify, was that second Amy?
I did first, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Berger, you're in agreement with this?
That's correct.
Okay, Mayor, did I put that up correctly? Legally, okay, all right. All right, okay. We have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Cheryl, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mrs. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Wertz,
Yes.
Chairman Carey.
Yes, that's an extension for the request of a transfer of a liquor license has been extended an additional 60 days after the 45. And all in favor passed. Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to echo the same the sentiments of Mr. Llanos that Lebanon, we want to see businesses grow and prosper, but we also we are there not to hold them back, not to shut them down, but we are there to help them achieve those goals when they are struggling with areas in food safety or public building codes or property maintenance where they're struggling. We are there to help them better themselves. And hopefully this will make this step, we're excited to see what will happen. Hopefully this will make this business an even better and more prosperous business in the city. Okay. All right. We have two more resolutions to look at tonight. The next one is resolution, and Mr. Berger, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next resolution is number 13. It's to the commissioners of Lebanon County requesting $25,477 in financial aid for the improvement of city streets and authorizing the proper officials to execute an application for the same. Do I hear a motion to accept resolution number 13?
Yes, I would like to make a motion on resolution number 13.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
I'll
it's been-
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mayor, can you just give us an idea on this $25,000?
Sure, this is our annual allocation based on the last census figure. And this particular liquid fuel tax fund money or allotment is distributed to the county. And then we must extend it through our general fund. So it's just our annual allotment. And we'll be spending it on general maintenance of streets and in particular a sinkhole repair.
Okay. Any questions on this from council? Any questions from media?
No,
Any questions from the public?
no.
Okay, resolution number 13 has been moved and seconded. Ms. Scher, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Wertz,
Yes.
Chairman Carey.
Yes, 5 yeas. Resolution number 13, so moved. Our next resolution is number 14. It's authorizing the proper officials of the city of Lebanon to enter into a reimbursement agreement for the Lebanon City Resurf Phase 1 Walnut Street US 422 project. Do I hear a motion to adopt resolution number 14?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 14.
Okay, and do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Mayor, we're moving along on Walnut Street, even though everybody else thinks we're not.
Yeah. So this, the cost of phase one, this is phase one. Phase one is Walnut Street from 12th Street to 5th Avenue and 12th Street from Cumberland to Walnut represents phase one. The cost of that is not quite $2 million. It's 1.976. And I'm not sure if Robin was able to confirm that let date or not, but we're anticipating that this would start in the spring of next year. And we have sent out notices several years ago about doing curb replacements and or repairs, and utilities have been notified, and that's why you see the nightmare on Walnut Street. But hopefully next year it will be a beautifully paved, resurfaced road, and it'll be nice for a long time. So we just have to have patience that we work through that. But it can't come soon enough, in my opinion.
Thank you. Anyone from council have any questions on this? Anyone from the media?
No,
Anyone from the public?
no.
Okay, resolution number 14 has been moved and seconded. Ms. Scher, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Absolutely.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Wertz,
Yes.
Chairman Carey.
Yes, 5 yeas. Resolution number 14, so moved. Okay. That completes the formal part of our council meeting for tonight. Does anyone from council have anything they would like to share for the good of the city?
I just have a quick question. I don't know, I guess the mayor, maybe you'd be the best person to answer this. We had spoken when the zoning ordinance was passed about revisiting some topics. What is the process of that? Does that go back to subcommittee, or are we going to be discussing that here? What's the timetable for that?
So we asked our consultant for a cost estimate to do that for us. Since we have a brand new ordinance, we want to make sure that, you know, if we change something here, it doesn't mess something up there. So we're waiting to hear back from him on the cost, but we actually sent him and we actually added additional items that Robin noticed, little tweaks that from working with it on a daily basis. So I'm not sure, Melissa, have we received an estimate back from him yet?
No, we have not. I know he sent us our maps and some other things this week, but he didn't get us an estimate back.
Okay,
I'll
so,
check with him.
okay, so we definitely want to act on it sooner rather than later, so we'll keep pushing him.
That's fine. I really didn't know the process. So if we're waiting on him,
But-
as long as that's in motion, that's really all that I care about.
Definitely in motion. It would have to go to county planning and to the planning commission and then come back to council.
Okay, thank you.
So it's unfortunately kind of a long process, especially when you're dealing with an ordinance,
Which ordinance are you talking about?
zoning ordinance.
And what specifically are you revising?
This is the bail bond thing.
Uses that
Oh,
you have.
right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from council have anything they'd like to share for the good of the city?
I just have one quick thing. There was like the issue of addresses was brought up. And I know in the past, even before we had to do Zoom and before I was elected, this had been an issue that was asked by people. Just like stating your home address. Some people might be intimidated to do it online now that it's posted on YouTube and then public for everybody in the world to hear your address. So maybe, I know people have to request access to the meeting via email. Would it be okay, or would you maybe consider allowing the person to simply give their address in the email, but maybe not state it publicly, just for reasons of privacy and the fact that these are all viewable by the public? I know if it were me, I might feel uncomfortable, especially if I had to come and report something like maybe there was drug activity in my neighborhood. I might feel intimidated to do that, knowing like now I'm putting my address out there and anybody that I'm ratting out could see it. I might not want to come and do that.
Well, first of all, I hope that you wouldn't do that in a public council meeting, that you would contact.
It's just a random example, but
Okay.
could be
But,
for anything.
I think, we'll consult with, Donna, our solicitor, but I think we could probably do that. But I mean, we should probably double check first.
Okay, I thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
considering that.
There has to be some kind of law on it, how it has to be. So, yep.
Or
Okay.
even if it could be something as simple as, I mean, within this system, you can message, if they could message the panelists their address
Yeah.
at that
Oh, and then you
time.
wouldn't see it on the video.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think there are a couple ways
That's a
around
good
it, but
idea.
Ms. Keller has
Yeah.
a very valid point.
That's a good
Okay.
idea. Thank you.
All right.
Mayor, can I just note, the address is in the minutes and they are posted on the website, available for anyone to see.
Oh. And is that law? Do you
Kind of a
have
moot
to post them in the minutes too?
It's a matter of public record.
Okay. All right.
It's
Well,
and it's not our rule, it's the whole state.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else from council? I know we're running late here. I just want to share a few things real quick. I know that Joe, maybe you can help me out. The Samba people were up at Coleman's Park. They got a lot of volunteers going on up there, getting the track ready. Have you seen?
I have not been up when.
Okay, the last time I was up, which was a little while ago, they had all the dirt out and they had some things on Facebook they were going, but I know they got volunteers there and they're working hard at it. I think they're getting closer all the time.
I did see some photos and yes, they are.
Okay, and speaking of volunteers, and there's many more, and I'm going to miss out, but I just wanted to say I know that a group of people really volunteered and really went to town on the log house on Chestnut Street, and put in a fantastic garden in the back and the fencing, and they just really did a super job. I just wanted to call them out. And again, I'm missing like thousands of people, but here we are, and kind of like in a time when things are so tough and everyone's kind of walking around with a dark cloud about them. And here, our city has got all these awesome volunteers. I know that there's a group of people working really hard on all the flower decorations downtown. They're absolutely gorgeous. At the mini park on North 9th Street, I wanted to let you know, if you haven't seen it, you got to stop. They are growing heads of lettuce, and they got a whole lettuce crop out there. And one of the neighbors came out and had little seedlings and gave them to them, and they planted a whole section of lettuce, and now they're getting all the leaves and giving it out to people. So it's really awesome. So again, just so many people doing so many awesome things. Right now, I want to thank the people of Lebanon for making lemonade out of lemons in life right now, which is really going. The North Side cleanup is back in business. The tile mural project over at the Progressive Playground, absolutely incredible. There's just so many neat things going on. So I just wanted to give a thank. And again, I missed a million people, but it's really awesome to see that even with everyone kind of walking around in the doldrums, we've got a city that's got volunteers going crazy doing awesome things. And I thank them for that. The other thing, Mayor, I just wanted to thank you. I saw the city posted some things, and here we had another super hot day for some tips about keeping cool. I know that some of the folks in apartments downtown or rooms, it's very, very hot, and they're looking. If you see anybody who can help anybody, or we have cool shelters, places for people to go to. I know the library was starting to help out a little with that. And but if it's a really hot day like today, and you do see some people struggling, maybe get them a bottle of water or something, just something to help them out. Okay. Now.
Thanks to our great social media person, Janelle, there.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Janelle.
And Mayor, thank you for saying that you are gonna work on the town hall. Thank you. One person just suggested maybe Coleman's as an outdoor location. It's so beautiful, and maybe that would make it a little more feasible before the end of summer. So just something to consider if Zoom isn't as intimate as what you had hoped. So thank you.
I just want to add one thing, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
To expand on what you said about the mural at Progressive Playground. So I just want to do a shout out to Sharon Zook and the Arts Council. Sharon puts a lot of time. This is not the first mural that she's done at a city property. And, she really gets the community involved and talks to the kids and the parents about, what do you want to see and what are you feeling right now? And the message of the mural at Progressive is, we're in this together. And it really speaks volumes for what's going on right now, and will be a permanent. Unfortunately, this is our life right now, but we are all together, and that's the message coming from that community. They recognize that they're being supportive of each other. They worked on something that's beautiful together, and they'll have something to cherish for always. So you're right about lemons, making lemonade out of lemons.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the media?
No.
Okay. Any questions for the good of the city from the public?
Yes. Jandy?
Okay,
Hold on a
Ms.
second,
Jandy.
I'm not sure what's. Okay, I have to promote her to a panelist because she's using an older version of Zoom. Okay.
Ms. Jandy, can you hear me?
You need to unmute.
Unmute. All right, got it. Hi.
Can you hear us?
I just have some. Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Sure. Listen, I know it. I hate to say it, but I need you to give your name and address, please, for the record.
Okay, I'm Jandy Goshert, and I live on Lehman Street in Lebanon.
Thank you.
Okay, proceed.
Yes.
Yes, please.
My question is about the art design board situation that's come about, I guess, through the zoning changes or something like that. I just found out about it, and was wondering if you could tell me anything about that. Like, when was that created, and what are the functions of those people?
Miss Jenny, did you just come on board, or have you been listening?
I was there for the last meeting. I watched the last meeting.
Not the, okay, because we kind of went all over this just a matter of moments ago.
Oh,
We-
really? At the beginning of this meeting?
Yes, ma'am, in quite depth.
Oh,
Yeah.
darn it. Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can just
I
give you
was
a real,
late to the game today.
okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you, hon. That's okay. Mayor, maybe you can just give us a real brief
Okay,
synopsis there.
so
Well, let me stop you. I don't want to hold up everybody. I was late to the meeting about 20 minutes. So I can just go ahead and watch the video later. I don't want you all to have to
okay.
go through all that again.
Listen, if you want to watch the YouTube, please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And
I will
you know me, I'm the candy man at the market, so you just have to walk around the corner and come in.
Yes, sir. I will do that. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
if you have any questions about that, just come on in and see me. Okay.
All right. I'll probably see you anyway.
Okay. All right. Is there any other
All right,
questions?
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public?
yes, so Cornell,
Okay, Cornell?
Can you hear me?
yes,
Oh, you can?
yes.
So I just have a question. This happened to my uncle, and I was just wondering, he wanted to know, I mean, he still paid the fine, but someone was supposed to put a mattress out for free, and they drove by and it was in the yard, and right after they did it or so, they got a fine in the mail. He was wondering, why was there no warning, or no one told or knocked on the door and say, get rid of this mattress or you're getting a fine? The person who was supposed to put the free sign on didn't, but it was in the yard. It wasn't even like in the front sidewalk or the porch. But he's going to pay the fine and doesn't want the problem. But why wasn't there no warning or someone knock on the door, or at least knowing, and then all of a sudden in the mail, you just get this fine?
Okay, so I'm assuming it's probably an instant ticket. And for mattresses, because of a health hazard, and I'm just going broadly here.
Okay.
It would be better if, you could email us, Cornell, his name and address so that we can look into the details of the incident to make sure that we have all the information. But when we have high weeds and grass or trash, or mattresses because of a potential bed bug issue, just because of sanitation, those are types of items that, you could get an instant ticket on.
So instant ticket means you'll get it in the mail some point, and you wouldn't know about it. You would just get it in the mail at some point. That's how.
I have to ask the
Okay.
inspector who handled it. So
I'll
you
email
want to
you.
email us?
Yeah.
We can check on it and I can let you know.
I mean, he probably already paid it. He just was questioning. The other question, is there any hauler that you know of that hauls on Sundays?
I'm not sure, Cornell.
Okay, I
I'd
mean,
have-
maybe you could look into that, because there's a lot of trash sitting out on Sundays, and other people are getting, violated when they did it 24 hours in advance and it was sitting there. But a lot of trash is sitting out on Sundays, and especially in certain areas that it makes it even look worse than it already is. And I didn't know if there was haulers now that go on a Sunday. I didn't know that was happening.
I don't know if they are or not. We have to ask the haulers if they are. I mean, there have been so many changes in ownership of some of those companies that I'm not quite sure if, I know some of them changed their hours, and some that were starting, at 3 a.m. now don't. It has changed dramatically. So they could be picking up on Sundays. I'm not sure. You're allowed to put out the night before your pickup. So if their pickup is a Monday and they're putting it out Sunday morning first thing, then yes, they would be putting it out too early. But again, if you have specific addresses and you want to email them to us, we can check.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions from the public?
So Brittany Hilton,
Okay. Miss Brittany?
you have to unmute.
Miss Brittany, can you hear us?
It's saying that you're muted. We're not muting you.
That I'm muted.
No, she is. Now,
She-
there she goes. Now you're good. Go ahead, Brittany.
Can you hear us, Miss Brittany?
This is why I don't like Zoom. Technical issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There you
Okay.
go.
I had to
Listen,
press it 3 times.
okay. Listen, we need you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Brittany Hilton at 113 North Franklin, Palmyra.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to follow up on the town hall. I am glad that that is happening. I'm just holding you guys accountable, Sherry and the chief. I would like to see that that happen in person as well as online. I think doing it both ways would be good, even just a live viewership like Facebook Live or something along those lines. You could even ask for questions beforehand to, I want to continue that transparency with the police department in the council. So I just want to follow up and say thank you and then give those suggestions. And then also, as far as a possible art commission, I'm glad you guys are thinking about that. I think taking those couple months to review information and what might be good for the people. I just want to throw it out there that when I was an advocate working with youth in the city, art is such a great outlet. Like you're saying about the murals and everything. I think in a time where we see budget cuts for art and music in schools, and Amari was talking about the brain drain in Lebanon, I think it's really something to look at to promote the arts, and whether that's music, whether that's painting, song, dance, and again, it can bring in a lot of revenue and a lot of interest. I know Jandy was on this, and she's helped with Spin Stock, and Spin Stock has brought people from all across Pennsylvania, and that's just once a year. But I know, there can be definitely more happening with the arts in Lebanon.
I just had an idea. Somebody had mentioned earlier that they want to talk and gauge interest. Would there be any way to make like a survey monkey, like a survey to put up on the website just to see what the interest might be in the arts? I know that's more work for someone, but I mean, I'd be willing to do something like that, but I guess I could just do it on my own if I wanted to.
The city can do that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Miss Brittany, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, we thank you for your interest. Okay. Okay. Any other comments for the good of the city from any of the public? I'm not sure who's all left out there.
It's just Doug Stump and Pam, in addition to
Okay.
Brittany.
And
But no
good
one has
evening to
raised
Miss.
their hand.
Good evening to Miss Pam. Thank you for your attendance. We appreciate you checking in with us all the time. Okay. No other comments? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
So moved.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So moved. Okay. Everyone have a nice evening. Keep cool.
You
Good night,
too.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah. Good night.
Night.